chapter 17 of the book of John.
Page 49.
Yep.
In our book. Yeah.
And again, we have to remember Jesus is going to be arrested here, right? So the rest of Jesus is chapter 18. So these are the last words, this is the last teaching that Jesus is doing. We've been covering. This is very, very important stuff here. And typically when, Jesus knew it was going to happen, he was completely aware of it. And so the last words of people are usually important. I mean, I've heard people say, turn up the volume on the golf game, but that's not important. I mean, people that are mindful, I mean, we should be knowing ourselves, but I mean, it's important here that Jesus prays for the church. When Jesus had spoken these words, he lifted up his eyes to heaven and said, Father, the hour has come. Glorify your Son, that the Son may glorify you. Since you have given him power over all flesh to give eternal life to all whom you have given him. And this is eternal life, that they know you are the only true God and Jesus Christ whom you have sent. I glorified you on earth, having accomplished the work that you gave me to do. And now, Father, glorify me in your own presence with the glory which I had with you before the world was made. So we see this intimacy between the Father. I mean, they were together from all eternity. And so before, we have to remember here, when you go to John 1, the very beginning, what do we get? We have, what's the first thing that happens here? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. So in the beginning, the Old Testament started with Adam and Eve, right? It started, this is before anything was ever created. Jesus existed with the Father and the Holy Spirit. The one triune God existed before all else. So John is really the first, this is the first book because it takes us back to the ultimate beginning. And so we have him talking about, this intimacy with the Father that he has. Glorify me in your own presence with the glory which I had with you before the world was made. I have manifested your name to the men whom you gave me out of the world. They were yours, and you gave them to me, and they have kept your word. Now they know that everything that you have given me is from you. For I have given them the words which you gave me, and they have received them, and know in truth that I came from you, and they have believed that you sent me. I am praying for them. I am not praying for the world, but for those whom you have given me, for they are yours. All mine are yours, and yours are mine, and I am glorified in them. And now I am no more in the world, but they are in the world, and I am coming to you. Holy Father, keep them in your name, which you have given me, that they may be one, even as we are one. And isn't this his hope? That's why it's such a scandal when we have a broken, when there's denominations breaking off and stuff. Jesus prays that we're one. We should be one. And this is, every time there's a break in the church where somebody breaks off, that goes directly against the unity of Christ. And there's something, and typically what's happening is they're rejecting one part of a doctrine or another. I won't go there. Well, I was with them. I kept them in your name, which you have given me. I have guarded them. And none of them is lost, but the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. But now I am coming to you, and these things I speak in the world, that they may have my joy fulfilled in themselves. I have given them your word, and the world has hated them because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. So again, the world doesn't, as Christians, if you're living an authentic Christian life, you're normal, right? And the ugliness of the world, people see the ugliness in themselves and they resent it. That's one thing that comes out, is that they don't like it when they see people that are living differently. They'd rather you participate in the sins of the world. I do not pray that you should take them out of the world, but that you should keep them from the evil one. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. Sanctify them in the truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, so I have sent them into the world. And for their sake I consecrate myself, that they may also be consecrated in truth. I do not pray for these only, but also for those who believe in me through their word. That's us, right? That they may all be one, even as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they also may be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. The glory which you have given me, I have given to them, that they may be one, even as we are one. I and them, and you and me, that they may become perfectly one, so that the world may know that you have sent me and have loved them, even as you have loved me. Father, I desire that they also, whom you have given me, may be with me where I am, to behold my glory, which you have given me in your love for me before the foundation of the world. O righteous Father, the world has not known you, but I have known you, and these know that you have sent me. I made known to them your name, and I will make it known, that the love which you have loved me may be in them, and I in them. So we see this unity that he has with his apostles, right? Which is us, right? And he, how many times did he say he's praying for all of them to be one, undivided? And that's what we should be praying for too. It's a scourge on Christianity that there's so many, that 40,000 denominations. That's a scourge. This is what Christ prayed against, right? Because there's little errors that are in each, let's say there's a little tiny error, but even a 1% error is not the truth. Jesus said, I am the truth. If you have a truth with 1% error, is it still the truth? No. Exactly. So that's why we should be praying for this also. And as Christians, we should have that heart of God and this heart of Jesus, which is that all Christians could one day be united. And that doesn't mean sacrificing the truth. That's the problem that we have in our society, is that there's people in the church that say, well, we can compromise here, compromise there. That's not what Jesus said, right? We don't compromise the truth, because then if we become 1% false and 99% right, what's wrong with us? We're not in the truth either. And so we have to be very careful. So here we are, it's the arrest of Jesus. So now we're coming into the Passion. When Jesus had spoken these words, he went forth with his disciples across the Kidron Valley, where there was a garden, which he and his disciples entered. Now Judas, who had betrayed him, also knew the place, for Jesus often met there with his disciples. So Judas, procuring a band of soldiers and some officers from the priests, chiefs, and Pharisees, went there with lanterns and torches and weapons. Then Jesus, knowing all that was to befall him, came forward and said to him, Whom do you seek? They answered him, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus said to them, I am he. Judas, who had betrayed him, was standing with them. When he said to them, I am he, they drew back and fell to the ground.
That's so powerful.
That's the name of God, right? I am he. Mm-hmm. And so it's really portrayed in Mel Gibson's movie. I don't know if you guys remember that particular scene. When he says that, they all fall down to the ground. That's significant. That's significant because Jesus laid down his life. He laid down his life. He followed God the Father's plan, and he was laying down his life. He knew all that was going to happen. It said, knowing all that was to befall him, came forward. He came forward. He knew this immense, incredible suffering, and yet he came forward anyways. That's the one thing we have to, we're not saying, oh, this is a tragedy. No, Jesus knew, and yet he did it for us anyways. Again, he asked them, whom do you seek? And then they said, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus answered them, I told you I am he, so if you seek me, let these men go. This was to fulfill the word which he had spoken. Of those whom you gave me, I lost not one. Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and struck off the high priest's slave, and cut off his right ear. The slave's name was Malchus. Jesus said to Peter, put your sword into its sheath. Shall I not drink the chalice which the Father has given me? So we heard earlier, right in Matthew, Peter is a prime minister and he's nothing bad will happen. First thing he does is grab a sword and cut off someone's ear. That's Peter, right? I mean, he loved Jesus. He was protecting him. I mean, I find that as wonderful, right? Jesus knew it was going to happen. I mean, he understood it, but you got to admire the Peter at that particular point. Go ahead, Charlie.
After Malchus had his ear healed, he was converted according to Anne Catherine.
Yep.
And he's the one that ran to Mary to tell us that Jesus had been taken.
Yeah, that's kind of indicated too, even in that film with Mel Gibson. He's just, you can see he's transformed in some way or another. I mean, because his ear's cut off, and then Jesus, we'll see it here in a minute. So the band of soldiers and their captain and the officers of the Jews seized Jesus and bound him. First they led him to Annas, for he was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, who was high priest that year. It was Caiaphas who had given counsel to the Jews that it was expedient that one man should die for the people. And so John's talking about how he prophesied as the high priest. So I kind of explained this last week. There's an office of high priest, right? So there's an office. And John said because he was in that office, he had the ability to prophesy. God gave that ability to the high priest. And what he said, it's better for one man to die than the whole people suffer. And that's exactly, he didn't know, he didn't realize the implications of it, but he still prophesied. So that's just kind of interesting. Peter denies Jesus. Simon Peter followed Jesus, and so did another disciple. As this disciple was known to the high priest, so they're believing this is John, this other disciple. It says down below, probably John the Evangelist, who never reveals his name in the gospel, but often calls himself the disciples whom Jesus loved. One tradition preserved, Eusebius, holds that the Apostle John was born of a Jewish priestly family, which would basically explain why he was so familiar to the high priest. So the other disciple who was known to the high priest went out and spoke to the maid who kept the door and brought Peter in. The maid who kept the door said to Peter, "Are you not also one of this man's disciples?" He said, "I am not." Now the servants and the officers had made a charcoal fire. Remember that, charcoal fire, because we're going to hear about it at the resurrection. Because it was cold, and they were standing and warming themselves. Peter also was with them, standing and warming himself. The high priest then questioned Jesus about his disciples and his teaching. Jesus answered him, "I have spoken openly to the world. I have always taught in the synagogues and in the temple, where all the Jews come together. I have said nothing secretly. Why do you ask me? Ask those who have heard me what I said to them. They know what I have said." When he had said this, one of the officers standing by struck Jesus with his hand, saying, "Is that how you answer the high priest?" Jesus answered him, "If I have spoken wrongly, bear witness to the wrong. But if I have spoken rightly, why do you strike me?" Annas then sent him bound to Caiaphas, the high priest. Now Simon Peter was standing and warming himself. They said to him, God bless you guys, are you not also one of his disciples? He denied it and said, I am not. One of the servants of the high priest, a kinsman of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, asked, did I not see you in the garden with him? Peter again denied it, and at once the cock crowed. So remember, Jesus had prophesied that before this night ends, you will have denied me 3 times. And we're going to see, so Peter's standing here in front of the charcoal fire, and after the resurrection, Jesus has a charcoal fire on the beach. And I'm sure in Peter's mind, that was probably the last time he was in front of a charcoal fire was when he denied him 3 times. And that's when Jesus reversed it and said, do you love me? Feed my sheep, and he said it 3 times. So it was a reversal. It's kind of interesting. I mean, just you see how it all ties together. And it, he would understand that. And think about it deeply. I mean, we become so familiar with these gospel readings that we don't really understand the magnitude of everything that's going on. Then they led Jesus from the house of Caiaphas to the praetorium. It was early. They themselves did not enter the praetorium, so that they may not be defiled, but might eat the Passover. So if they would have went into the praetorium, they would have been defiled. It would have been 7 days of purification. So Pilate went out to them and said, what accusations do you bring against this man? They answered him, if this man were not an evildoer, we would not have handed him over. So that's not really good logic. He asked them, what did he do wrong? They said, well, he must have done something wrong because we're handing him over. Pilate said to them, take him yourselves and judge him by your own law. The Jews said to him, it is not lawful for us to put any man to death. This was to fulfill the word which Jesus had spoken to show by what death he was to die. Pilate entered the praetorium again and called Jesus and said to him, are you the king of the Jews? Jesus answered, do you say this of your own accord, or did others say it to you about me? Pilate answered, am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have handed you over to me. What have you done? Jesus answered, my kingship is not of this world. If my kingship were of this world, my servants would fight, that I might not be handed over to the Jews. But my kingship is not from this world. Pilate said to him, so you are a king. See, Pilate's, he was pretty perceptive. Jesus answered, you say that I am a king, for this I was born, and for this I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is the truth hears my voice. Pilate said to him, what is truth? And really, isn't that what our society is saying now? What is truth? Because I am the way, the truth, and the life. Truth is not a function of time. If you guys know mathematics, that means the truth is constant forever. It doesn't change, from one day to the next. And that's the problem, is that people try to change the truth. They try to rewrite history. They try to twist it a little bit. They do a little wordplay. They change it a little, they soften it a little bit. They're manipulating the truth. They call good evil and they call evil good. And that's, but I liked in the, it seemed like he was really troubled because his wife was troubled. She had dreams when this was going on. And she eventually became a Christian. And there's a whole, Charlie, what was do you remember the Pilate's wife? I know she was a Christian in the early church. She converted.
Claudia.
Yeah, Claudia. So, but there was a story about her whole conversion and everything else, but I don't recall it all right now. But she was bothered. I mean, she was bothered in dreams. She understood this was a holy and righteous man, and have no dealings with this. She was trying to protect her husband. This is not She just knew that this was wrong. After he had said this, he went out to the Jews again and told them, I find no crime in him. But you have a custom that I should release one man for you at Passover. Will you have me release for you the king of the Jews? They cried out again, not this man, but Barabbas. Now Barabbas was a robber. And it's kind of interesting because the name Barabbas means son of man, little man. I mean, it's kind of a play on word. You have the Son of God, and then you have this thief and murderer and insurrectionist Barabbas, and that his name means something else. So there's so many levels of meaning all throughout the scriptures. It takes time to kind of understand it all, and the more you read it, the more you understand. And when you ponder it and you think about it, it just strikes you again and again and hits you at different levels. So I think we'll stop here because it's I don't want to get into a new chapter. Oh, it's okay.
It's early, isn't it?
It's 12 after, yeah. We can go a little more, but we're going to end at verse 4. How's that? Then Pilate took Jesus and scourged him. So that's just one sentence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then Pilate took Jesus and scourged him. Now, that one sentence, it's, you can miss that, 7 words. Mel Gibson really shows what happened in that, in the Passion of the Christ. I mean, you guys, I don't know if you've seen it, but it really, that's what that means. And St. John Paul II said, it is as it was. I mean, that was his, when he saw the Passion of the Christ, he said, it is as it was. Which is pretty amazing when you have, St. John Paul II might have been one of the greatest scholars of the last 150 years. I mean, the guy was just incredible. But just this one verse, I mean, we should be contemplating that. I mean, he whipped, beaten, scourged, just the most cruel punishment you can imagine. And then what did the soldiers do? They plaited a crown of thorns and put it on his head. We had one back there at some point, I don't know, maybe a month or 2 ago. They had a crown of thorns in the back. And boy, you even touch any one of them, the thorns were about 3 inches long.
That movie's coming back to Southgate. I had a buddy tell me that. He said, you want to go see it? I said, well, I saw it once. It was painful, but...
Yeah, see it again. Because most of the saints say reflect upon the passion of Jesus, because that shows his complete love that he had for each and every one of us. And also we should be, it should make, instead of just thinking about, he got scourged. What does that mean? Well, now you know, right? That's like, and the crown of thorns, and they beat it on his head with a reed. And they mocked him, clothed him in a purple robe. They came up to him saying, "Hail, King of the Jews," and struck him with their hands. And remember, we just heard about Jeremiah being mocked and beaten. Pilate went out again and said to him, "Behold, I am bringing him out to you, so that you may know that I find no crime in him." So Jesus came out, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. Pilate said to them, "Behold the man." It's a little different what they have here. Here is the man. Behold the man. When the chief priests and the officers saw him, they cried out, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Pilate said to them, "Take him yourselves and crucify him, for I find no crime in him." But Jesus answered him, "We have a law, and by that law he ought to die." The Jews answered him, "We have a law, and by that law he ought to die, because he has made himself the Son of God." We're going to stop there at that. think about the purple robe. Think about when they ripped that off, all the sores would have been open, all this, all the blood, and then they rip it off them and open up all the pain for all those. And once again,
It was his own people that wanted him crucified too.
yeah, so we had
So
on
I'm
past.
sure that's why he put all the pain throughout the years on them. That's my belief. Okay. He brought back the pain that he got on the Jewish people.
No, what they got is what they called upon themselves, because what they did is, so he prophesied within a generation this temple's going to be destroyed, and they all were. And they said, you're going to see here, and we'll talk about that next week, but they say, let his blood be upon us and our children. Let the condemnation come upon us. That's what they say. That's their words. And the condemnation does come upon them. And that's typically what happens is when God judges a people, he'll use pagan people. So let's say he's judging the United States. He'll probably use someone like China, some atheist country or something else. And that's how he'll do his judgment. And that's typically throughout all of salvation history. You see it again and again and again. Now they eventually get a worse judgment, but God sometimes will chastise his people because he loves us, right? And he wants us in heaven. And sometimes he has to take away all our idols in order for us to wake up and find what's really important. Just like we heard, what would it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his salvation? And then we should think of that.